One last bite.
We're back, you guys.
Okay. Delicious and refreshed.
We got cake shakes, you guys.
Lemon vanilla cake shake from Portillo's.
If you're a real Chicagoan, you know what we're talking about.
Okay. All right. Welcome back to another fantastic, fabulous, fun, fresh, and riveting episode of the Tomato Pulpit.
The Tomato Pulpit.
I'm your host, Mike Tomato.
And I'm the co-host, Tom Sofa.
All right. So episode 2. If you didn't catch episode 1, I took it upon myself to torture Tom Sofa with a grand conspiracy.
Loved it. I kept the vibes high.
Yeah. Tune into that one if you really want to know who's the bad guy out there. Is it really who you think? That's the question. But today, I'm going to lean a little bit less into the church and more into the general news strata. So I'm going to do 3 particular segments on this episode. Segment 1, IlliniNews.
Ooh.
It's time for some news from Illinois.
Okay.
Because that's where we're located, and that's
we live here.
and that's who we care about. Next, it's going to be quick history, which is not going to be that quick, but it's just going to be like a general overview of a historical event within the United States that kind of plays into today, May 1st. Happy International Workers' Day.
That was International Women's Day.
I thought it was International Workers' Day.
Okay.
Hey Siri, is it International Workers' Day or International Women's Day? International Workers' Day.
Okay. I buy it.
Siri knows. All right.
Maybe it's Women's Month.
So it could be. I mean, Mother's Day is in May. But so that'll be part of the little quick history fact playing into that. And then I'll wrap it up with fun with fascism.
Oh.
Yeah, see how the Trump administration is doing. I got some Pew Research Center information that I'd like to share and get your opinion on.
Let's do it.
All right, so we'll start with some IlliniNews.
Do it.
Today in the IlliniNews. So the Illinois Senate, which you've undoubtedly heard of,
Once.
has passed a bill that would ban styrofoam in like to-go situations.
Okay.
There'll be no longer to-go styrofoam containers in the state of Illinois.
Interesting. Okay. Like this?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'd go back to paper?
All styrofoam is out. Paper, glass, plastic.
Okay. That's fine.
Styrofoam, no go.
I hate
Except
styrofoam.
there is a carve out in the bill that would allow egg cartons to still be styrofoam.
What? How do you feel about that?
I'm okay with it. I think it's good for the environment. I think
Yeah.
we should start to weed out some of these
Yeah, that's cool with me.
non-biodegradable materials.
Okay, you got positive news. I love that.
Yeah, I mean,
Wow.
it's a gambit of things.
Okay.
So so now it passed the Senate, it goes to the House. If it passes the House, the governor will sign it, and if all goes kosher, the bill is set to take effect January 1st, 2030.
Love that.
So we still got some time before we are out of styrofoam. So save it up now, collect it while you can.
You think it's going to become a hot commodity?
It might become the new gold,
I doubt it.
the styrofoam gold rush. All right, next.
I do not recommend investing in styrofoam.
The next thing in Illinois news. This gave me a little bit of respect for our governor. Do you know our governor?
Yeah. Is it Pritz?
Pritz.
Yeah.
JB.
Is this the credit thing?
No.
Okay, go ahead.
What credit thing?
Go ahead. You can get to me.
Okay. Anyway, JB, our governor, he's really been an outspoken opponent to the Trump administration and its craziness. He's really in a leaderless party that is the Democrats right now. He's really kind of showing face. He's really kind of given us a little bit of what we need. And I respect it, especially coming from a billionaire.
Yeah.
Like, technically, the Pritzkers have nothing to lose in a Trump administration.
Right.
They own Hyatt. Like, that's where their money comes from, Hyatt Hotels.
Right. And Pritz has money in the dispensaries, too.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, like,
in Cresco.
he's got hands in multiple pies.
Yeah.
But the family wealth comes from hotels. Uh, to which I believe under the Trump administration, billionaires, their taxes are fucking lit. So it's surprising to me in some regard that a billionaire is so outspoken against Trump, but it's mainly because of like the social political implications of the Trump administration,
Right.
the lack of DEI, the deportations,
Excuse me.
all that jazz.
Right.
So JB, he was out in New Hampshire doing a fundraiser, as one does. And in this fundraiser, he had a little viral moment. I don't know if you ended up seeing it.
No idea.
Your algorithm's not particularly political, so I'd be kind of surprised if you did. But he said, and I quote, "Never in my life have I called for mass protests, for mobilization, for disruption, but I am now."
Wow, JB.
Which, that's big talk, honestly. If you have your governor, who is generally looked upon as the person of stability within your state.
Sure.
You know, they're usually the one to say, like, thoughts and prayers, right?
Totally.
Like, that's usually their shtick. They just kind of are, they're not a figurehead, but generally in terms of, like, political unrest, they don't usually take sides unless they're, like, egregious to one or the other. JB, seeing the moment, experiencing the moment, he did also in the speech give a lot of information like that alluded to, say, Nazi Germany in the 1930s. I think he's a pretty educated guy. I think he can see the signs, and he sees the United States kind of transitioning into a pretty despotic thing. She's not going to attack you.
I know, but I don't want.
If anything, she wants to smell your mouth.
Totally. I just don't want to make her feel uncomfortable.
Oh no, she's fine.
Well, when she moves like that, I kind of go, "Oh, did I do something?"
No, she's fine. But yeah, she's really big into smelling mouths. If anybody's cat is really big into smelling mouths, then you know the experience.
No, she just got up on my feet and decided, nope, not for me.
So it's time to protest. You want to get out there and protest?
Sure, we'll do it.
We'll do it. All right.
Done.
JB told us to.
So the thing that I heard with JB that he did you, and this isn't like super new, it's just relatively new. I thought that he passed like a law or something to the extent where companies or banks can't run a credit check if you're trying to get a loan for a house or something along those lines.
Okay.
And from my some sort of understanding of it is it could have been to get ahead of the student loans thing.
Okay.
That's about to happen. That's going to hurt a lot of people's credit scores.
It's going to fuck us up.
And so this way it doesn't keep this from affecting people from getting houses and like owning rather than being forced to like rent and be like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. That's fascinating.
You should look into it and let me know.
Yeah. Because let
me know if that's fact or fiction. Because
I could maybe see renters not being credit checked, perhaps, but like mortgages are insane. Like,
yeah, maybe it's for renters specifically. I don't know.
I can see it for like student loans. Like they shouldn't run a credit check on student loans. They should just give you fucking money.
Yeah, but anyway, look into it. Get back to me.
Yeah, I will. That's fascinating. And so the next part of IlliniNews is that measles, baby. The measles is here.
Uh-oh.
Illinois had 2 confirmed cases of the measles in Cook County. The person that was alleged to be infected went through Terminal 1 at O'Hare International Airport. Mm-hmm. Also went to maybe perhaps some surrounding places, but there are 2 confirmed cases of measles in Cook County.
What should we do?
Get vaccinated.
Okay.
Number 1, go get your MMR vaccines or double check your vaccine records to make sure that you're covered under measles. Measles is generally more dangerous to young and older people, but it is an incredibly contagious disease.
Sure.
It has fucked up humanity many a time in our history.
Yeah.
And it was a fucking dead disease until fucking RFK and his anti-vax, brigade of bullshit decided that, what we need in this world is more sick children.
Totally. We don't, but totally.
So, Go get your vaccines. It's spread through air droplets, like water, similar to like COVID or the flu.
Mm.
It's not like if I have an open sore and I touch you with it and like gets into your bloodstream, kind of like
Yeah.
a pox or like a pussy situation.
Yeah.
It's not like that.
Okay.
It's upper respiratory is how it starts. So wearing a mask is a way to protect yourself. So if you find yourself in a busy public space, it might not be a bad idea to throw that mask on.
Okay. Fair. Reasonable.
Yeah. So those are my 3 tidbits of IlliniNews.
IlliniNews. I like that a little bit.
Thank you.
I've got little fact, little fun, little bit of news for the world.
Yeah.
Darren Awol, AWOL, I believe, he was shot.
I'm sorry. That's good news.
He was shot in 2011, and he was told that he would never walk again.
Oh, it's okay.
Okay.
Where was he shot? What was he doing?
It was a armed robbery.
Oh.
And so yeah, but the positive side, let's find the positivity.
That's your whole point here.
This guy, he finished the London Marathon after they told him he would never walk again.
Wow.
Now, part of it was on wheelchair, part was with these crutches.
Sure. Let's cut him some slack.
But count it, beast.
That's one more marathon than I'll ever run.
Beast.
So
shout out Darren.
That's great, Darren. You go, Darren.
Yeah.
Proud of you.
Yeah. So I got more, but I mean, we could just.
You don't want. Okay.
You want another one? I can give you another one.
How many you got?
I got 5 total.
You got 5?
Five
You could do
total.
Yeah, you could do 2
You
right
think
now.
2?
Yeah.
Okay. Those with severe peanut allergies. Have you heard about this?
I've heard of them.
They were desensitized thanks to oral immunotherapy.
Oral immunotherapy.
Yes. So for the first time ever, we're able to help stop people that have like a peanut allergy.
Yeah.
Stop the allergy.
So how does oral immunotherapy work?
I do not fucking know.
Okay.
All I know
it
is
has obviously something to do with your mouth.
For sure. All I know is that we've had success with this with like babies, like early stages.
Yeah.
But for the first time ever, we've had success with like an adult.
Okay.
And it like helping an adult that has,
severe nut
allergies. Yeah, that could die from a little nut.
No, that's great. I think allergies.
It's a huge step in the scientific world.
I think allergies is definitely a Darwinian approach to humanity.
Totally.
But I'm glad that those who suffer are gonna get what's theirs.
Yeah, dude. One of my favorite lines. I can't do anything without thinking about Seinfeld. One of my favorite, just like kind of random one-off lines from just a random guy. They're at this party in Long Island, and Elaine is talking to some random guy, and he's going off about the peanut, and he's like, George Washington Carver, what an interesting guy. I mean, to dedicate your whole life to the nut.
You're right.
It's just so funny.
You're right. I mean, I think he did more, but
such a funny little bit.
But big into peanuts. We wouldn't have peanut butter without him.
Totally. Great little bit.
So really good guy.
So little positive bit for you.
Okay. No, that's great. That's cute. Darren and peanuts.
Darren and peanuts. Darren was shot and then did the London Marathon.
Right.
And
without an allergy.
And if you're allergic to peanuts, there's still hope.
Incredible.
Yeah. You may not be allergic forever.
All right. So we'll move on to my second segment.
What do you got?
Probably the bulk segment.
Run it.
Excuse you.
Let it out.
So in lieu of, or in appreciation for International Workers' Day,
okay,
I wanted to talk about a piece of American history.
Love it.
That has changed workers' rights and the general worker vibe
Okay.
in the United States.
Run it.
And you've probably heard of this before because we've talked about it in our public education setting, but I'm not sure what you would remember. But if I was to say triangle shirtwaist, does that ring any bells?
No.
If I said triangle shirtwaist factory fire,
Mm-hmm.
now the bells are ringing.
Yeah. I remember
Okay, yeah. Do you want to show any or share any tidbits that you might remember, or just be surprised as I explain
that.
what
I'll be
happened?
surprised. Like I kind of remember such vague little bits and pieces about that.
Okay, all right. Well, the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire, a tragedy in New York, New York.
Mm-hmm.
But through that tragedy came a lot of new regulations, new rules, and laws that made working in particular factory environments much safer.
Brilliant.
So the fateful day is March 25th, 1911.
Jesus.
We are in Greenwich Village, Manhattan, New York, New York. We're at the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory.
Right.
A shirtwaist is a blouse, essentially. Back then, in the early 20th century, there was a lot of layers that people be wearing. I think we're like just emerging out of like the Edwardian era of clothing, which had petticoats, your nice coats, your corsets, all that jazz, all gets thrown onto the woman's body. The shirtwaist being a particular blouse that was very common underneath your typical garb. And I think it was more of like a casual wear that women had. But either way, a big piece of fashion fabric at the time, very popular, very big business back then. So Max Blanc or Blank, however you want to pronounce it, Blanck,
Okay.
and
Blanc.
Isaac Harris are the two founders of the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory in Greenwich Village, New York.
Okay.
They're Jewish immigrants.
Of course.
I believe it was Harris has like a tailoring background, and Blanc I think is just business. I'm not totally familiar. I didn't really go that deep into their biographies.
Fair.
But the two of them came together and they learned that the triangle or the shirtwaist needs to be sold, and they have the means to do it. So they bought or leased 3 floors of this building. They leased the 8th, 9th, and 10th floor for their shirtwaist factory.
Interesting.
They hired mostly women. It was mostly a gaggle of Italian and Jewish women that worked in this factory, and majority like the textile industry in New York at the time.
You know what they were getting paid?
Yes, I have that all
Good.
here.
I'm curious.
So, but before we get there, the reason why a lot of these textile companies, and in particular Blank and Harris, chose Italian women and Jewish women was because they were more desperate than the other immigrant populations in the area. And they were less likely to unionize because of that desperation. This is also a moment when like unions were
starting up
relatively in the conversation. You know, there was definitely an era of regulation approaching the United States labor market.
Right.
So back then, these women in the factory, they would work general 9-hour days. 9-hour days during the week. Saturdays, they would work 7-hour days. Sundays, they would get off because church.
Fair.
So we were generally looking at like a 52-hour work week, making somewhere in the ballpark of $7 to $12 a week.
Okay.
In today's math and today's numbers, that means they would make generally around $5 to $9 an hour.
That's not so good.
Not so good. Still being abused. So, in lieu of that, these women were also like max packed into this factory as well. I think that's another important part to know, that there weren't any rules on spacing, on disposal, and all these women, over 100, I think there was like 200 women were involved in like each floor perhaps. Just literally max packed together because it's mass product. You know, you want to produce as much and spend as little as possible. Yep. And without the law to defend these laborers, you had pretty dicey situations. You got one more?
I might. but I don't know.
Anyway, it is now 4:40 p.m. on March 25th, 1911.
Yep.
There is a small bin of waste, little cuttings from the shirtwaists that catches fire.
Uh-oh.
How it catches fire is debated. The most common belief is that it was a cigarette, because even though it was not allowed, people were still smoking cigarettes
For sure.
in these factories, even though there would be giant scraps, or like giant bins of scraps, even next to your table, underneath your table. Like, it was a fire's paradise.
Totally.
Everything could catch fire. Arson is also a popular belief here. There was a string of popular garment factories that were victims of arson for insurance fraud.
Yeah.
And I believe Blank or Harris, there was some question as to if it was arson, because they've had some other factory fires in their history.
Huh.
But it was never found to be that. The cigarette theory still holds strong.
Sus.
So fire breaks out at 4:40. 4:40
Okay.
p.m. And at around 4:45, it was a passerby that first noticed the fire, that first sent out the signals to get the fire department involved. It wasn't people within the factory themselves,
Yeah.
alleged. But it started in the 8th floor, and the 8th floor wasn't able to get in contact with the 9th floor by the time the fire reached the 9th floor, but they were able to get in contact with the 10th floor, and they were able to reach them by phone, I believe, and tell the people on the 10th floor, hey, there's a big ass fucking fire, you guys might want to leave. But it was too late, because by that time the 8th and 9th floor were already engulfed in flames.
Damn.
So what serviced the floors, how they got up and down, there were freight elevators. There were 2 freight elevators and 2 main, I guess, like stairwell fire escapes. This is when the owners of the building and management got real shady boots, is that to prevent theft of the shirtwaists, they would lock one of the doors to one of the stairwells, or to one of the fire escapes. So the fire breaks out, they have only 1 or 2 main exits. They can either use the freight elevator if it was still in service and available, or they would have to get out that 1 stairwell.
Interesting.
But it was a real hodgepodge of the worst possible things that could happen. Where the fire broke out immediately blocked them from that 1 stairwell they had access to. The other door being locked, and the one person that had the key to unlock that door dipped without saving anybody's life.
Of course.
So as the fire is raging, and it's a real 9/11 type situation where if you're above the fire or you're in the middle of the fire, there's no escape for you.
Totally.
So people were jumping.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
People
Out
were
the windows,
just,
right?
People were just jumping. They're being burned alive. It was a real bad situation for them.
Yikes.
So about 62 people were witness jumping from this building. There's a story of a mother and daughter allegedly holding hands before jumping to their death.
That's depressing.
Very sad. It's very sad stuff. So as the fire is raging, they can't get escape. There is one hero to this story. Last name is Vito, Zito.
Zito.
Forget his first name, Hank, Frank, whatever, Zito.
Hank Frank Zito.
He was one of the freight elevator operators, and he had done a gaggle of missions to the burning floors to save people's lives.
Really?
He did it for as long as he could. It wasn't until the kind of elevator shaft buckled from the heat that was coming from the fire that he wasn't able to help anybody. But through that, people were still like jumping off of the elevator door and kind of.
I feel like we watched a video about, like maybe a video about.
Oh yeah, this is a very infamous moment in labor rights and just kind of fire safety regulations in the United States.
Yeah.
So all in all, there's 123 women that died and 23 men
Oh my god.
ended up losing their lives. So in the aftermath of the Shirtwaist Fire Factory, it raged on for quite a bit, but it did come to an end eventually. So in the investigation that was found, Blanc and Harris were tried in court for first degree and second degree involuntary manslaughter.
Reasonable,
right? Because it was their policy to lock the doors. It was also it was their fault for max packing people in, allowing people to smoke, and also just creating very dangerous circumstances for such a thing to happen.
Totally.
The American court system really likes those with money, and these were two very wealthy men, and they were acquitted.
Wow.
They were acquitted. But there is some justice in the civil courts. A civil suit was filed against them, and they were found guilty. Well, liable, not guilty. You're not found guilty in civil court. You're found liable for wrongful death.
Jesus.
In civil court. So they did have to pay $75 to the families of each victim.
Wow.
But here's the real fucking kicker. So they were insured. Their factory and everything was insured. And through their insurance, they made $400 per victim. So they made out $325 in the green against every person that died.
That is ridiculous.
It is fucking ridiculous, but that's America, baby. That's why we commit insurance fraud.
That's unbelievable.
So they were found liable. Money was paid out. The factory did end up opening in another location in New York, but with that came some new laws and regulations. One being the Factory Investigations Commission of New York. This was a big deal. It was their job, this commission, to go in and inspect all these factories and make sure that they had things like sprinklers, extinguishers. They were fireproofing in some of like the beams and other things like that, so a tragedy like this wouldn't happen again.
For sure.
Changes to escape ladders and fire escapes was also a big part of it. So through this tragedy, there was good things that came from it, being rules, laws, commissions, and people that are now tasked at saving lives in desperate situations.
For sure.
So it is a shame that it takes a tragedy to bring this about, like the positive change, but we won't really know unless it happened, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, Harris, who was one of the owners, who had a tailoring background, ended up leaving the shirtwaist factory business and went back to tailoring. Blanc, our boy Blanc, I think he was the real bad apple here.
Really?
Yeah, because he ended up opening more factories, and then he was caught again and paid fines for locking doors in factories. I believe he paid like a $20 fine in this situation. But $20 in
slap on the wrist though.
In 1915, you know, how much is that? I don't know.
To him, probably still not much.
So, but yeah, still locking doors. Big woof from this guy.
Oh.
But that is the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire.
Wow.
We can thank those women, the ones that survived and the ones that fought for their rights to have
families
and the families for the protections that we have today.
Totally.
It's similar to, if you remember hearing about Our Lady of Angels. This is another like bad fire situation.
Yeah.
That happened in Chicago.
Right.
Do you know about this one?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so a brief, I guess, one over about Our Lady of Angels. It was a private school. There was a massive fire, and there were no escapes, plans, routes, extinguishers, whatever. So it ended up turning into like an even desperate situation where nuns were huddled over children to protect them from the fire, and they ended up all dying. But because of that, it changed the laws within about building codes and regulations in the city of Chicago. So as Triangle Shirtwaist is to New York, Our Lady of Angels is to Chicago.
What year did that happen? Do you know?
Our Lady of Angels?
Yeah.
I don't know. After Shirtwaist.
Had to.
Yeah, but I'm not positive.
Interesting.
I'll come back maybe next episode and talk about it.
Yeah, no pressure.
But yeah, that's what I have for our International Workers' Day.
Well, let's lighten the load a little bit here. Let's talk about Pegleg Bennett.
Peggy!
And at 55, old Pegleg, he conquers the biggest wave in the world. Surfing.
Let me guess, it was in Portugal?
Poland, I think. Called Nazare.
Poland. Waves in Poland.
called Nazare. Nazare with a.
This is a natural wave.
Listen, man,
Poland is, to my understanding, landlocked as fuck.
we're gonna look into this. That's what it said. And he's got a carbon fiber and titanium leg,
Ooh. Come on, Lieutenant Dan.
peg leg.
Lieutenant Dan, ice cream.
Are you looking this up, Nazare?
Well, no, I'm looking. Poland.
Look up Nazare.
Poland, landlocked as
Look
fuck.
up Nazare. Nazare.
Nazare. Portugal.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah.
It said Poland in the thing. They made a mistake.
Yeah, because I have seen like reports and stuff that this area of Portugal has like the most intense waves.
Yeah,
They're wild. Have you seen these videos?
I have.
They're fucking
They're
crazy.
crazy. So yeah, so he's done doing that, and he hopefully 2028 Paralympics for him.
Mm.
Hopefully.
For surfing?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I got one more that I'm going to give you, and then I'm going to save the last one for the end.
Okay, cool.
Valerie, the miniature dachshund,
Ooh, baby.
was found after 529 days in the Australian wilderness.
I saw this on TikTok.
You saw this?
Mm-hmm.
This little dog
Well, Wiener.
lost November of 2023.
Yeah. That Wiener survived out in the bush.
Out in the middle of fucking Death Valley.
In the bush, girl. A Wiener in the bush.
Isn't that crazy?
That should be like Homeward Bound.
Valerie.
You know the movie Homeward Bound?
Yeah.
With like the dog, the cat, the two dogs and the
Oh,
cat?
yeah.
They need to do that about Valerie.
Yeah.
And call it a Wiener in the bush.
Wiener in the bush. So, and then I got one more for you, but I'm going to save it.
You'll save it?
I'm going to save it till you're ready for it.
Okay. So the next thing I want to get into is just some insights into fascism. Fun with fascism, as I'm calling it.
FWF.
So if it is not unknown that the United States and most of the world actually is having a little despotic moment. We're having a moment where we like our leaders to be strong men and our laws to be really fucked up. So in the United States in particular, our despot of choice is Donald Trump and his cronies and grifters.
Yep.
If you disagree that his tribe is full of cronies and grifters, I would recommend that you take a book and beat yourself in the face with it.
There you go.
But for those of you who are aware that Donald Trump is a despotic nightmare, I think one thing that really kind of gets his gooseberries goobin is the church. The church.
The church.
Without giving too much detail because I don't have the facts readily available, but it's generally understood that around the 80s, as Ronald Reagan was coming into power, that the conservative party, the Republican Party, saw an opportunity to gain Christian voters. So it was kind of a unspoken rule in the church that you don't get involved in politics. The church had no role in the politics, especially in the United States, per the Establishment Clause.
Right.
But I would say, political strategists of the Republican Party saw an opportunity with an untapped voter base and one that would lean conservative just given the nature of the church. And they were very much correct. So through some members of the Reagan administration and God, I'm forgetting his name. He was a very big like televangelist type of person. Essentially worked together to mobilize this new Christian voter bloc that has a lot of power and authority today in the American political system, especially them being the evangelical Protestants. Evangelicism is newer out of the sects of Christianity. Protestantism isn't, but evangelical Protestantism is a little bit different. I'm not sure exactly what makes them a little bit different, but they are different.
Okay, that's good.
But that's really Trump's base these days, is these evangelical Christians that have been mobilized since the 80s to suck the dick of any Republican in leadership.
Yikes.
They really tried to do it with, I mean, Reagan was the start. And then after Reagan, the next president was, I believe it was Bush Sr.
Yeah.
It went Reagan, Bush Sr., Clinton, Bush, Obama.
Classic.
I think that's how it went. So after Reagan, it was Bush Sr. The evangelicals didn't really jive with Bush Sr. that much. Then Clinton came into the scene. And then that was kind of when Newt Gingrich was just like, let's really mobilize these bitches. And then they really kind of came in hard for Bush Jr. And then Obama came into the scene, still were leaning very much conservative, but didn't have that much power. And then when Trump came in, it was, whoa.
Yeah.
It was like, this is our guy. Jesus came back and sent us a fucking idiot.
For real.
And that's God's choice. It's God's will. So just to give you some statistics and fackaroonies. So evangelicals, arguably the most brainwashed bunch of us in the United States. That is a derogatory phrase, and I'm going to stand by it.
Okay.
72, according to Pew Research, this was a survey done of 3,589 adults in the United States between April 7th and April 13th. 72% approve of the way Donald Trump is doing as president,
Okay.
which is insane considering where we are today. We're at the verge of a global economic collapse. Our leadership has no fucks to give about the cost of living in the United States. And the only priority they seem to have is to destroy the lives of trans children, get everybody sick by not getting vaccinations, and then cut taxes for billionaires. That really seems to be their only shtick. And if you have any evidence to prove otherwise, please send that to me via email at sofatomatoespod@gmail.com.
Send the freaking email.
And I would love to debate that with you.
Let's go toe to toe.
69% rate the ethics of the
Nice.
Trump administration officials as excellent or good.
Yikes.
So they seem to be very ethical in the eyes of the evangelical church.
Doubt it.
57% say they trust Trump more than any of the previous presidents.
That can't
So
be
they
right.
think he's amazing. He can do no wrong, and he's better than everybody else.
Yeah, I don't like the sound of that.
Crazy. So breaking it up into kind of some more based on like the different sects of religion, Pew Research went into it. So you have the general populace of the United States of in this survey. Generally speaking, without proclaiming a particular faith or one or the other, U.S. adults, 59% disapprove of the President of the United States, while 40% still remain faithful. I think that number should be a little bit higher in the disapproval category,
Right.
but that's just me. I just can't see how anybody can get behind this person, but here we are.
Yeah,
So
it's crazy.
moving on to the Christians, because that's who we really care about.
Yep.
So Protestants, 50% approve, 48% disapprove.
Okay.
Okay.
Still not good.
Still not good. We're still in that 50-50 ballpark. This is when it gets real crazy to me. White evangelicals. This is Trump's base beyond base. This is the Bible thumping America who says that we need to become a Christian nation because we are a Christian nation and have never read the Constitution. What do you think the number is? How many do you think approve? I've already said it, actually.
Go ahead.
72%.
Yeah.
72% of white evangelicals
Crazy.
say Donald Trump is doing fucking phenomenal. Which, why do you think that is? I want your
Because
opinion.
it works for them.
Because it works for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why.
No, you're right. He is definitely the president for white people
Yeah.
and for the white Christians. Do you remember? This is when I could never support this man. I mean, there was many reasons, but this one really did it for me. And then there's another reason why I don't have a lot of respect for people that support him.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember in the first administration, the George Floyd things are happening?
Yeah.
And there was a massive protest near like a church near the White House. And he had the protesters tear gassed,
Yep.
rubber bulleted,
Oh yeah.
and removed so he could go in front of this church
Mm-hmm.
and hold up a fucking Bible.
Yeah, I remember that.
That, to me, was the most other than January 6th,
Yeah.
it was the most batshit thing I've ever seen
Ridiculous.
in the United States. And that, to me, like that was like true fear I felt on that day, where it's like, holy fuck, we are turning into this like Christo-fascist thing. Like they're kind of winning, it seems like.
I hope not.
And that's the scary part. If they do win, I will not be in the United States anymore. Bye.
Where are you going?
Canada's the safest option. It's the closest option, but generally I would like to get across an ocean.
Yeah, smart.
To have some better security.
Good idea.
But moving on to the other faiths. This is a good moment of contrast that I thought was very fascinating. Black Protestants. What do you think their disapproval rate is?
Hopefully low.
Give me a number.
32%.
32% approve or disapprove?
You're talking. The question was approval.
So you say 32% approve
Yeah.
of the president of the United States.
Yeah.
Wrong.
Okay.
10%
There you go.
of Black Protestants
I went
approve.
high.
85 disapprove.
There you go. We're getting there.
I firmly believe if anybody is to save the United States, it will be a Black woman. I think that is just who has to do it.
Sure.
I'm so sorry. It could have been, but she lost. But I liked that moment of contrast. It does kind of show you that the racial divide in the United States is still very wide. And whoever says we're in a post-racial society because of Obama is fucking clueless.
So wrong.
So the partisan differences that kind of show up between races in particular and faiths in particular, I thought was very fascinating and can really kind of speak to this moment of division that we kind of have. Are you surprised by this information? Why or why not?
I'd say I'm not super surprised by it. I feel like that Trump's all about controlling people, and so is the church. So it kind of all goes hand in hand, don't you think?
Yes. I think the church does well to control a populace on fear.
Yeah.
And I think Trump also enjoys that.
Yeah, loves it.
Loves it, lives for it. I think the more afraid he makes people, the more... people become predictable through fear. I think it is a very natural human behavior, and the results of it are very predictable.
Dude, not to always talk about TV shows and stuff, but it feels like parts of like little bits of Silo.
Totally.
Types of stuff going on.
Yeah, totally. I think there's some metaphors that
that
definitely match. And that's what it is. I generally believe that it's this fear mongering, this fear baiting that moves masses, that moves people. And like another conspiracy is that like Christianity is all bullshit. It was created by the Roman Church to get the area of Judea under control. But that's a conspiracy for another day.
Totally. We'll get there.
I think the biggest call out that I'm pretty fascinated with in this research is the DEI, the cuts to agencies, and then the tariffs, like how these religious groups break off.
Mm-hmm.
White evangelicals, they love DEI being destroyed because obviously they want everybody to be white and evangelical just like them. No, they are the Ubersmensch,
right?
In their eyes. And really, most white Christians want DEI to be destroyed. The only white population that wasn't in favor of DEI being destroyed is actually nobody. It's the religiously unaffiliated.
Classic.
Otherwise, it's the Black Protestants and Hispanic Catholics that do not want DEI to be destroyed.
Interesting.
Yeah. Federal cuts. I think everybody generally across the board is looking for cuts. Black Protestants are obviously standing strong as being our bastions of free will that say that we should not be cutting federal agencies and departments for no fucking reason. And then when it comes to tariffs, Hispanics, this is when it like a little bit changes. You get a little bit more sensibility happening. Protestants don't like tariffs. White evangelicals fucking love tariffs. And then the Hispanic Catholics and the religiously unaffiliated are really anti-tariff, which is good to see.
Definitely.
Well, the largest growing base is religiously unaffiliated too. More and more people in the United States are becoming less religious, which I think is partly speaking to this like moment of religious panic that seems to be happening. The metaphor is often used as like a boomerang, or not a boomerang, or like a rubber band or something.
There you go.
The further you stretch it, and
snaps back.
It'll snap back. And so we've had a lot of progress recently. We've had gay marriage, trans rights, women's rights, all these things. And I think we're witnessing in real time in today's world the consequences of that progress, where you now have a very well-funded and aggressive and very vocal minority really provoking change. But there is a long game that was played that is fascinating, and I should talk about this on another episode because it deserves more than the 2 minutes that I'm going to give it. But it's this long game that was played by the conservative party and religious conservatives in particular with the judiciary in the United States.
Yep.
That's why the Supreme Court is the way it is. That's why a lot of federal judges are conservative in the way they are. It's because I'll give it to the religious right that they really got their shit together quick and they played the long game. And they won. It worked out in their favor. They have a supermajority in the Supreme Court. They have the majority of federal judges. And Leonard Leo was one of the architects behind it. He did like the Federalist Society. That's where I think all of the Republican Supreme Court nominations have come from in the past 3 administrations.
Yikes.
Have all come from this Federalist Society. I mean, that's definitely where all of the conservatives on the court came from today. Mm-hmm. All of them were on this Federalist Society shortlist.
Of course they were. And
I wish the Democrats and liberals and progressives had the, I don't know, institutional fortitude to do the same thing.
Right.
But we're so divided amongst ourselves already, because you have some liberals that are, socially liberal but economically conservative, and then you get some liberals who are really focused on, like, say, climate change, but don't really give a shit about anything else. So because the depth of, I don't know, human rights and liberal issues, in my opinion, is much broader than the conservative platform.
Yeah.
It seems like that's the reason why it's hard for us to coalesce together. But we need like one figurehead. We need like another Obama. Like, we need that type of person that could kind of galvanize and unionize all these kind of factions of liberals together, which he did in his first run for president. And it's a damn shame that he didn't accomplish a lot of what he talked about in the campaign. Some of it was probably talk to just get elected. That's fine. Every politician does that. And you do have to give him some grace with the opposition that he met with McConnell, Gingrich, Boehner. Like, they're just like, it was literally, I think, his first day in office, and Mitch McConnell gave like a long-winded speech on the Senate floor about how he will dedicate his entire life to make Obama a one-term president.
Jeez.
And that's coming from an Alabama-raised Kentucky senator.
There you go.
So put that in perspective. But I'll end it there.
You sure?
Yeah, I mean, like, there's a lot more like facts and figures that we can get into, but I don't need to keep making this more long-winded than it already is, and we should probably end with some happy facts.
I got one. Do you have any?
I can make a happy.
You don't have
facts.
to make one, but I got one ender. It's not that happy.
Do we
but
have
I
a
like it.
do we have a beaver update in the Shropshire River?
Beaver update in the Shropshire River. I do not have a beaver update.
That's a damn
Sorry.
shame.
I'm sure that they're doing good
It's
though
a
up there.
damn shame.
But I got, and this I thought was exciting news, and I saved it to the end, not because it it shouldn't make anybody too happy, but I just think it's good news. It's we have a new color. We've discovered a new color.
We've discovered a new color.
A new color has been discovered, and just the idea that we're still discovering new colors,
That's pretty cool, actually.
that gives me hope. It really, really does.
Yeah.
There's still so much more to learn.
The bounty of exploration.
I love that. Love that we're finding new colors. Shout out to Berkeley. Shout out to University of Washington for getting together, for discovering the color. It's called OLO. OLO.
OLO.
A new blue green.
I'm looking it up.
OLO or ORO? OLO, I think.
OLO, the most vivid teal you've never seen.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, she's very teal.
Very.
Okay, it's kind of like minty, swampy green.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I would describe it.
But it's pretty. New color.
It is very pretty.
New color alert. The people should be excited about that.
Well, would you think that we have like a finite expression of colors that we could see because we only have 3 cones in our eyes?
Right. So I believe that I read like parts of the article, and it said that in order for them to discover the color, they had to do something to their vision
Okay.
or somehow. So it's not something that they just were like, oh, I glanced at the rainbow, squinted a little bit. I mean, however the hell they did it. I think it's bananas though. Give us more colors.
Yeah.
I want to find all the colors.
Well, I would love to see the like spectrum that like a mantis shrimp sees.
That'd be cool.
That would be everything.
That'd be really cool.
And like I've seen the filters where it's like, oh, this is how a cat sees, this is how a dog sees.
Or a fly.
Yeah.
They got like a bunch.
Yeah.
Cool stuff.
Little windows and mirrors.
Spider, 8 eyes.
They have 8. I thought it was 6
I thought it was 4
or 4.
4 on each side, right?
I don't know. Spiders are fucked.
There's something.
Like I get it, we need them to live, but like spiders are so fucked.
They're so fucked.
So are centipedes. Oh my god, the other day,
Mhm.
should have said this in tomatoes.
Yeah, well.
Jolene's chilling on the other side of the couch. I'm sitting where I am essentially right now watching TV. And all of a sudden I see her just like shoot out from behind the couch. And she's like fucking with something like near the door over there.
Yeah.
It's a giant fucking house centipede.
My goodness.
And she's literally like swatting at it like it's a dust ball or some shit. And like I didn't realize what it was at first until like she swatted all the way to this door frame over here. And then I like finally saw what it was. And then I got up because I was like, oh, I got to kill this motherfucker.
Fact.
And then as soon as I got up, I lost it in the carpet. Like I couldn't find out where it was.
Oh,
Turned my flashlight on. Gone.
I'd be terrified.
I have no idea where it is to this day. And like they're harmless. Like they don't hurt people.
that
And
we know of.
that I know of.
I'm just kidding.
And they do eat spiders and other insects around your house.
We like it.
So they're not like that bad for you, but they're just like ooky spooky. They're
For
so
sure.
fast. They're so fucking fast.
Yeah.
One
Anything with a bunch of legs. I mean, geez.
literally. When I was living in Iowa, and I lived in the attic room. So like the way that the walls were pitched, there was like maybe like a little bit of a flat, like 90 degrees, and then it went pitch, like maybe up to like 2 feet from the ground, or whatever.
Right.
And so like my head is like directly under the pitch when I'm sleeping, and I'm like, I'm on my phone, whatever. And it's like, okay, it's time to go to bed. I put my phone down. I look up at the wall, and the biggest house centipede I've ever seen. Like I'm talking like 6 inches.
Jeez.
Huge.
That is big.
Is less than like I don't know, a foot from my face.
Oh my god!
Literally to the point where like I slide so calmly out of bed, trying not to move anything.
Yeah.
I take my giant ass, like I think it was like my human biology statistics book,
Mm-hmm.
and I fucking
Spam!
pound that shit against the wall.
Oh.
And when I tell you the splatter on this textbook was disgusting, I was gagging.
Oh, gross.
But
there goes the resale value.
I ended up selling it anyway.
Yeah.
I still actually have some old textbooks that I need to get rid of.
Flip them.
No, I think they're out of date now.
You never know.
I keep this Shakespeare anthology here because I used to hide money in it because, like, who's going to steal that?
Nobody.
But now everybody knows, but there's no money in it anymore. But it is nice sometimes, like, when I'm bored, like, I'll open up a bit of Shakespeare.
Sure.
And I'll read it.
Pop into it. That's the beauty of books.
Because even though it can be difficult to read, some of the poetry is fabulous.
No doubt.
No doubt. It really is. And there's a great conspiracy about Shakespeare.
Could be good for an episode.
It could be a good episode.
Okay.
I might save that one.
Save it.
But
save it.
That's my thing for the pulpit. We got IlliniNews, we got a little triangle shirtwaist, and then just fun with fascism.
Yep.
Some little insights as to how the country's thinking these days.
Love it.
About our little fascista administration that we have. All right. Do you have anything else to add?
I got nothing. I mean, I gave it what I got.
You definitely gave it what you got.
Gave it what I got. I had, a couple things to add, and shout out the new colors. Shout out the guy who did the marathon. Shout out to
what's a topic that I can bring that you would be interested in?
Dude, I'm interested in your topics.
Are you?
I am.
Okay.
Sure am.
Okay. Because I feel like I gotta get something where like you're in it, where maybe like a business stuff, maybe money talk.
Don't give up. Keep going, man. You're doing great.
Well, I mean, it's for your benefit. Otherwise, you just sit there. Otherwise, you just sit there for an hour.
I'm soaking it up. What do you mean? You don't think I'm soaking it up?
I don't know.
I'm marinating in it.
Okay, good.
Jeez.
We'll throw you on the grill in a couple hours.
Okay. All right. Well, tune in next time for some more hot goss and other stuff. So I'm Tom Sofa.
And I'm Mike Tomato.
This is the Tomato Pulpit. We'll bring it to you.
Thanks for tuning in. Love you.
Bye.